Good evening. Overcrowded, understaffed, and unsafe. That's what inmates, workers, and inquiry has dubbed the Elgin Middlesex Detention Center. And that's what the courts are hearing over and over again. Today, Londoners echoed those calls and demanded action. Christina Howard was at the rally and joins us with more. Christina.
Tara, last month, inmates tried to take their own action by refusing to return to their cells for supper and by setting fires. But all that came out of that was a lockdown for prisoners and a reprimand for OPSU members who spoke to the media. Well, today, people did more than just talk. They beat their drums. They're saying what those behind bars cannot. Elgin Middlesex Detention Center needs to change.
Overcrowded, inhumane, McGinty's budget is a shame.
It's overcrowded, with as many as 5 inmates crammed into makeshift cells, and violence is escalating.
There's a lot of things that are going around in there. I've heard of, fights and, who wouldn't fight? They're like caged animals in there, and then they get locked down for days upon days for fighting.
And sometimes those fights can turn deadly, like in 2009 when an inmate was beaten to death by fellow prisoners. Others say they're lucky they didn't face the same fate.
It was against 5 guys, and one guy said, hey, and I looked right, and he took a cup packed with toilet paper and basically slammed me in the head here, like 3 cranial fractures, 27 stitches in my skull.
Brawley has filed a lawsuit against the province, but says money can't fix what's broken.
Now I'm on disability for life. I got frontal lobe damage, post-traumatic stress disorder.
But inmates aren't the only ones that are suffering. According to OPSU, there have been no new hires for correctional staff over the past 25 years. Meanwhile, this facility has swelled from 150 inmates to 475 inmates. As a result, OPSU says assaults and attacks on guards have nearly tripled over the past 5 years.
Guards are feeling threatened when they come to work because of the conditions. And so I'm here to listen to the voices and, make sure that people know that it is a concern that we're paying attention to.
Yesterday, Premier McGinty said the government is looking into it, but wouldn't commit to additional staff.
There's still some more work to be done, and I know this is a very important file on the minister's desk.
And while the government has committed to providing an additional $5 million in funding for extra surveillance equipment, it's of little use if there aren't any staff to actually monitor the cameras. Teresa Armstrong is also planning to meet with the minister and hopes that something can be done to help ease the situation and the tension. Tara?
Thank you very much, Christina. Christina Howard live outside the Elgin Middlesex Detention Center tonight.
Today is August 10th and it is Prisoners' Justice Day. A bunch of years ago in 1974, a man died trying to get rights for the prison and how he was mistreated and different things like that. So I've got some more information written down, and once I get done driving, we'll check that out. So I'm here at the jail. It's August 10th. Today is Prisoners' Justice Day. There's going to be a rally. So we're just getting set up. We're going to make some signs, and then hopefully things will start happening. So today is Prisoners' Justice Day, and this all started in the Millhaven Institution in 1975, and it marks the death of Edward Nolan, and he died in 1974, and forming the hunger strike and the movement that was recognized as the Prisoners' Justice Day. What's important for today is that it got the basic human rights that most take for granted. Also the right to proper medical attention, and also the right to due process in the judicial process system. You're in here, you seem to be guilty until proven innocent. There's a lot of men in here that have to wait months and months and months to get their trial date, and or they get a plea bargain where if they plead guilty, they'll do 6 months in jail, or they can wait 10 months in here for their trial and still be found guilty or whatever, and then still have to do extra time on that. So a lot of the inmates take the plea bargain and they're still guilty. So I don't know. I think that's a pretty sad system. So we got some people already starting for the rally, and I just also wanted to say that today that the prisoners, they refuse to eat, and that shows their remembrance of the 2 men that died, and that's Edward Nolan and Robert Landers. They both died on August 10th. Edward died in 1974 and Robert Landers died 1976. They were both in the special segregation unit, and it's called the special handling unit. Here comes the rally, boys and girls. Here they come. This rally is to appoint the extreme negligence and inhumanity that the prison system has towards the inmates. Even though they're inmates, they're still human beings and need to be treated as such. Basic human rights. We're gonna get our signs and march with them. Here we go, boys. I'm getting goosebumps, boys.
Shame on the government, shame! Stop the overcrowding at the Elgin Middlesex Detention Center. Overcrowding puts the inmates in harm's way, and it puts the guards in harm's way. Shame on you, Government of Ontario. Shame on you, the Ministry of Safety and Corrections. Shame on you for not protecting and following your duties as
Shows that people still do care about other people. Some people might not like it and see inmates as trash and whatnot, but some families are, you know, missing their loved ones. Inmates are still human beings. Right, Haley? Yeah, big time.
Okay, march.
Too many people have died for this, being locked in here like a bunch of caged animals, and then they get locked down for fighting. We got news people. My goddaughter will be on the London Free Press. I'll bring back 2 for 1 dead time. Show us the signs, guys.
Okay, over here.
Here they come. I'll soon see you again, Chris. Come out this big door. I'm making a YouTube video, sir. Do you want to say anything?
I wouldn't be prepared.
Do you want to just hold up your sign and we can read it?
That says that right
Do you have a loved one here?
there. No,
I do.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's
Guilty
that's
until-
why we're here. We're
Yeah. Guilty until proven innocent, right?
Security is, we're entitled to security whether we're inside or we're outside.
Exactly.
I think it's a shame that we have to teach Dalton McGinty what's right and what's wrong.
Yep. Thank you. Goosies.
Responsible here and the Ministry of Safety and Correction Office. Again, Mayor, the one in charge of this. Stop the secrecy. Stop the gag order that was put on the presidential oath of the union here. We need to know what's going on behind these walls. These are our tax money that's going here. Our tax money that's being wasted. And our tax money that's being used to abuse and use people. We have to stop this. The guards have the right to work in a safe environment. The inmates have a right to be in a safe environment.
Hey, you know what? This would actually be a good place to do the speech if they might be able to hear the stuff in here. Yeah. Right there. You got it. That is the map there.
Say to the government. Say to the government of Ontario.
I have to come here twice a week to see my boyfriend in jail. And it's a sad way.
Or we could just hear them banging back to it.
I have to press that buzzer over there to be able to come and see him. Haley, Haley, hold up your sign. This was brought to you by onepuglife.com. We love you, babe.
I mean, you should recognize it. It's that big building. You gotta go behind it. Pay attention to the city sign. It'll be a correctional services sign.
Got it? You want to ask him? Non-carcinogenic. That's why I use it. H-O-L-L-I-L-Y.
It's my girlfriend. If you want to, come here. They want to know about your boyfriend's website.
Yeah, why is it called Pug Life?
It's called onepuglife.com.
Our future is a part of this.
Camera work. I don't have to learn anywhere.
Every city, every town, all those places to the ground.
About what's going on here. So I'm going to hand it over to my wonderful comrades and legends that
Prisoners asked that you'd lost your break.
So, hi, my name is Sakito Inawasis. I'm a member of the Painted Feather Woodland Métis clan, tribe, and the Karai clan. And I'm from Antler River, which is where London is now located. And my family's from Niagara. So before we start, I just want to acknowledge that we're on the traditional territories of the Arawandara, Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, and Wendat peoples. Because far before there were prisons and prisoners on this land, there were First Nations approaches to healing that are just as diverse and distinct as the nations themselves. These traditions do not seek to divide our communities and isolate us from each other with fences. Okay, instead they honor autonomy and self-determination and recognize the healing of an individual involves the healing of a community. Of the Canadian population, they comprise nearly 25% of the incarcerated population. This is shameful. Aboriginal youth are criminalized and jailed at earlier ages and for longer periods of time than non-Aboriginal youth. Shame! Shame! The Correctional Service of Canada needs to be corrected themselves because they routinely classify more First Nations, Métis, and Inuit inmates as higher security risks, deserving maximum security imprisonment than non-Native inmates. Shame! Indigenous offenders are released later in their sentences, are far less likely to get parole, and are more likely to have their conditional release revoked than non-Native offenders. Shame! Also, I find it interesting that Corrections Canada identifies Aboriginal offenders as having lower reintegration potential. Not only is this discriminatory, but it's like saying that we are not assimilating well enough into this tremendously sick settler society. Well, I have a correction to make, Canada. We will not assimilate because the system is racist. Not only is the incarceration rate 9 times higher for Aboriginal peoples, the gap in the number of Native and non-Native offenders continues to grow, and discrimination is even more pronounced for female Aboriginal offenders. At one point in the history of Canada, all women in solitary confinement were First Nations women. Shame! Shame! And currently, on average, 50% of women in federal maximum security institutions across Canada are Aboriginal. Shame! Shame! So not only are Aboriginal offenders routinely discriminated against by the corrections system, but are less likely to be rehabilitated by their experiences in jail because they are placed in segregation more often than non-Aboriginal offenders, which further reduces their already limited access to culturally relevant programming. This means, while cutting funding for cultural-based services and affordable housing, Stephen Harper and the government wants Aboriginal youth to instead attain their education and live in jail. Where they will not have access to their community of origin because the colonial government knows that the most effective way to destroy people is to obliterate their understanding of who they are. Offenders should not have to serve their sentences away from family, their community, their friends and elders. How is isolation going to prepare them for release? It isn't. The government is failing to rehabilitate Aboriginal inmates in any effective, culturally sensitive way. And what these stats don't tell us is how many of the offenders had identifiable mental health needs that weren't being met. 90% of Aboriginal women and 82% of all women in prison are survivors of sexual assault, child sexual abuse, or physical abuse. Shame! Shame! We need to ask, why are these people being disconnected from their communities that want to support them? Whose political agenda is this part of? And do we want to support it? No! Remembrance that in their fight for freedom and equality, the actions of many political prisoners have been criminalized by the government. Remembrance of Guantanamo North and those held on security certificates, arrested only on suspicion and never formally charged, never granted access to the so-called evidence against them, but held and tortured in Canadian prisons. Remembrance of trans women of color like C.C. McDonald, forcibly housed in male prisons in Canada. It is a sad irony that we promote self-defense classes for women, and yet many of the women of color are imprisoned for fighting back against the violence in their homes and in their streets. We remember the refugees fleeing war and persecution, only to be thrown into detention centers upon arrival into Canada, segregated and labeled as illegal. No one is illegal. Remember that people in a country with illegal borders created by colonial society are imprisoned because they do not have status. Because Immigration Canada does not believe their identities or their stories of flight and persecution. We are living in a time where immigration authorities are moving faster and harder to arrest, jail, and deport immigrants and refugees. People's lives, homes, and families are being destroyed. We live in a state that has imposed laws designed to welcome those with wealth and privilege and deny everyone else homes, income, health, and education. Shame! Today, we remember that as a community, we need to support one another in a system that Audre Lorde once wrote, we were never meant to survive. Today, we rise up united in solidarity with those of our community incarcerated in this racist, xenophobic, colonial state system.
So I guess everybody already knows why we're here, right? The conditions inside are intolerable and inhumane, and these guys are all friends, brothers, husbands, fathers, loved ones, neighbors of people in the community. And a lot of times, I mean, obviously it's circumstance that brings people to this, and even whatever your argument might be about the justice system, what's going on inside here, it doesn't even resemble that anymore. And they're unfairly punishing people above and beyond what's already expected. And it seems like it's a big political game. And really more and more, they're becoming part of what people might call the excluded. They're pushing them to the margins of society and almost expect them to be forgotten and unprovided for. And yeah, like they're really in there doing time, and it's just like a shell game where people are expected to forget about them, and you know the government doesn't live up to whatever responsibility even they claim. And I mean, I don't know, I'm here as part of Occupy, and I think the one thing we could say is actions like this contribute to the pressure to maybe do something about it, right? And that's the least we can do is for these guys inside, if you care at all, is do what you can to add to the pressure. And so I'm sure this won't be our last action if things stay the way they are inside.
First, I'd like to thank every one of you for coming out. None of you look like the type of people I would have thought would have come out here. I just left a funeral, and I would have thought some of those people that are my friends would have been here, but they can't be here because they're at a funeral. First, I'll introduce myself. I was arrested in 1984 for the murder of Hannah Bucksbaum. I was innocent. I was not guilty of that. This very day, unfortunately, I stand here again. The last time I was here apparently, September, I'm the same guy that had the standoff with the police and the City of London for property standards. The people that are all in here would probably most likely all like to kiss your asses, because I'm telling you, they have no say. It's really unfortunate what's going on in here. I stand here with a cane. The last time I had my cane over my head and I was shot with a gas rocket. Shame! I can't thank you enough. These people are all in here. I could hear them just a minute ago banging on. This is Ward 8. This there is the area when they send you, you go to court. You go from here to court each time. I'm really, really surprised at the people that have come out. It's not the numbers I would have thought, but the people that would have come out probably are most likely criminals, and they're too afraid. The problem with the system is that they are arresting people continuously for things that they may not have anything to do with. They will sit in here until their court date comes up. What happens next is that they will plead guilty. There's people pleading guilty to get the, pardon my language, I won't even say it, to get the hell out of here. They're not guilty of it, but they will plead guilty because they don't want to spend any more time in here. I just left human rights about a month ago. I laid a charge against the EMDC because I did not receive my medications. I spent the whole period of time while I was in there waiting to go to court. They pissed around to detain me while they just stalled day after day, not getting me to court, pissing around so that they could torture me. It's literally torture. I'm on 30, or I apologize, on 340 Oxycontins a day. It doesn't make me a criminal. That makes me, I'm in pain. I'm in pain. I take sleep pills on top of it. They didn't allow me to have any of that. They knew, and they didn't allow it. When I went to human rights, because I did not bring my doctor, because if I brought my doctor, I was taking away from my work.
Stay here. Just stay here. Give it to Annie. It's like, do you want me to stay like back here? So we're all in the shop. Okay.
They did offer me a settlement prior to it, but I refused to take the settlement because I thought, we wasn't here. I could take the money. I could run.
Stay there. Stay. And she wants to sign. Yeah.
OnePugLife.com.
Okay. They're gonna get a shot of the kid who signs.
Okay.
There you go. Do you want to turn your timer on?
The news is getting a shot of my godchildren. Yeah, Haley. You're famous. Say OnePugLife.com.
OnePugLife.com.
Close enough.
They came back when they couldn't find who did it. I said, well, hello, there's 15 people locked in the cell block. Chances are one of them did it. So now you come here, and now you get murdered, and nobody's processed. You know, mine was a fraud. I'm not proud of that. But you know what? You don't deserve this. You know what? Something's got to be done here. And I hope you're listening here. I don't really give a shit. Because,
woo!
You know what? People in there, it's just time. So, my name is Robert Broly, B-R-O-L-E-Y, and I'm not afraid to shout out. So I've been unfortunate enough to be out on here too. And my biggest issue with this place was when I got brought in, I had medications with me there. I have to take every single day. And I thought because I had them with me, my name's on the prescription, and I told them what I needed and how I needed it.
I got told that I couldn't have my medications until I saw the doctor. So I had to wait 6 days before I finally got my meds, and that meant as soon as I left here, I was in the hospital for almost 2 weeks, ill, horribly ill. But it's not just medication for health problems. The big thing is psychiatric problems. If you come in needing psych medications and you have to wait 6 days or a week or 2 weeks or even longer to get your meds, it's really dangerous because you can't stop taking psych meds abruptly. It causes symptoms for your mental illness to become more exaggerated, and it can cause more incidents and issues with violence, and it's actually quite scary, and that causes problems amongst the inmates themselves and tension with the guards, which just makes everything worse. It's a pretty simple fix, really. If you medicate people the way that they're supposed to be when they arrive, then you'll have a lot less tension and problems going on later on. So that's all I want to say.
What I think the public needs to understand is that people who are incarcerated are people. As one gentleman already indicated, they are brothers, husbands, their uncles, their aunts, their cousins.
Providers.
Some of the comments that I have read in the paper by Londoners disgust me, and it also really upsets me because they're ignorant comments that, well, if you don't do the crime, you won't be incarcerated. Innocent until proven guilty is the fundamental principle of the criminal justice system in Canada, and we all should hold that near and dear to our hearts. And what I can say is this, that the first time a family comes to me with their son or daughter or mother or father getting into trouble, when heretofore they've not had someone in their family in trouble, the first thing they want to do is make sure that person does not get detained in custody. So until it happens to someone in your family, it's probably best not to comment about keeping people incarcerated because they've committed an offense. That's right. To summarize then, it's really important that this issue stays in the forefront, whether that's in the paper, whether that's through online media, whether that's through rallies, because this is a social issue, it's not a criminal issue, and unless people speak up, we're not going to get anything done. There's a saying that a society is only as strong as its weakest member, just like a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. And if we tolerate this kind of treatment of members of our society, then that speaks very poorly about the type of society that we are. That's right. Right. I'm so glad to be here with you today. Let's make a bunch of noise right now. All these guys We all know that it's absolutely disgusting what's happening inside here, and I think what I want to do right now is actually kind of get us to think about these horrible, horrible sort of experiences that we've been hearing recounted in terms of the sort of political situation that's made this possible. What I'm talking about is the fact that somehow it's become something that is, there's a political calculus that, you know, sort of determines that people in
March, 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 march.
Blow your whistle.
They're not going to arrest the whole town.
No justice! No peace! Abolish the police!
Right now we're doing a walk around and protest around the jail. Pug's in there, boys. He's somewhere in there. I wish I could see him. I love you, Dad! It's a little bit dark, but I think Pug's somewhere around in this area. He's somewhere in there. I miss you, babe. We all love you. Can't wait to see you again.